70% of business projects rely on collaboration from people who don't report to you. If, like me, you're an external project manager, then that number is 100%. No one reports to you. Project success requires collaboration across teams and business partners who will invariably have different ways of working. Many project leaders don't feel confident in their ability to influence without formal authority. Hi, I'm Leonie McCarthy, and as an external project advisor and leader, I've helped businesses of different shapes and sizes, just like yours, deliver their projects. Today, I'm going to share with you the difference between influence and authority, and how to deal with the dynamics, or some tips to deal with the dynamics when you only have influence to deliver your project. So, what do we see as the key differences between influence and authority? If we start with authority is granted, whereas influence is earned. Authority comes with somewhat of a position and a title, whereas influence usually develops through the relationships that you build and your demonstrated value. Authority often has clear boundaries, whereas influence, lucky for us, is limitless. Authority usually only extends to your direct reports or specific area of control, whereas influence can cross departments, hierarchies, and even businesses. Authority can rely on compliance, whereas influence builds commitment to the project purpose. Authority can force action. So, as a project leader, it's important that you know people who have this authority and be able to build some trust with those people. Influence generates willing participation and encourages people to give a little when it comes to discretionary effort. So when we talk about some common mistakes that project leaders, including me, often make, here's my top 3. Trying to be the boss. This is guaranteed to create resistance and resentment, and it undermines your capacity and credibility. Number 2, depending solely on the project mandate or executive sponsorship for your influence. So this is sort of a situation where assuming that the project's importance will automatically generate cooperation from a team. This fails to build on the personal connections with the stakeholders that you're going to need. And number 3, maybe focusing on tasks rather than on people. Prioritizing deliverables, and deliverables are important. We need to focus on them, but it's also important to balance that with relationships. When we focus entirely on the deliverable, we miss the opportunity to understand what motivates different stakeholders, what their concerns are. So, how would you build influence in your project? Well, here are my top 3. Establish your credibility early. And you don't have to be an expert in everything in the project in order to establish credibility. What you need to do is demonstrate your competence and your interest in the project through being prepared. Know who's in the room, what's expected of the project. Do that homework before the formal kickoff. I think another thing that's helpful is to deliver on small promises, building trust, showing up on time, getting people's names right. You can also look to your previous experience and share some of those we use the form of templates or examples, questioning things openly so that you can understand better what's motivating people. In this way, the new team can choose to take or leave the things that you're bringing to the table. Tip number 2 is to know the key people of influence that are outside the direct project team. So you will of course build relationships with your direct project team, but then understanding those informal influence networks in the business that you're working in is also really important. Getting to know your project team and those people that they're connected to. Getting clear about who those decision makers are and who might be a little miffed about the project that you could be working on is really important and useful information to have. Know who influences the stakeholders that you need to satisfy and what they're worried about. Tip number 3, build a shared purpose around the project. Bringing the cross-functional groups of people who are in the business together early to establish what their success criteria looks like and how we might measure that is a really useful activity to set you up for a shared purpose. As part of that exercise, you'll discover what matters to each stakeholder, and I actually cover off this whole building of shared purpose piece a little bit more in my book that I've recently written, Momentum. One of the most interesting things that I discovered when I was looking for examples of this shared purpose is the work of Dr. Jim Lower. He's a coach of sports people, and he attributes a lot of the success that really capable sports people have to a connection to a deeper purpose. And we can use this in projects to create a shared purpose that people can align to. I think another great tip, if you're interested, is working to get visible endorsement from people who are respected in the business. And then also creating a network, if you can, of people who advocate for the project across departments. The reality is that your project success depends far more on your influence skills than your job title. Today, we've covered the differences between influence and authority, but I'd love to hear your thoughts. What are your frustrations when you have no authority or no formal authority? Please let me know in the comments. If you want to go deeper on how to build your influence, you can download the Influence Without Authority guide. It's in the show notes. Remember, leadership isn't about the authority you have, it's about the influence you build. I'll see you in the next video where we'll dive a little deeper into building your personal credibility as a project leader. Until then, focus on earning influence rather than wishing for authority. If you got value from this episode, then please share it with someone. Maybe someone who has the authority in your project landscape. Until then.